History holds the answers, or does it? From forgotten maps to ancient secrets buried in plain sight, the world's greatest mysteries remain unsolved, and the truth lies hidden, waiting for you to uncover it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Histories, Mysteries, and Conspiracies. Season 2, Unraveling the Unknown. Where the past isn't just a story, it's a puzzle. Are you ready to piece it together? Myths are made for the imagination to breathe life into them. Albert Camus. Who was the real Saint Nicholas? Introduction. Every December, a familiar figure appears everywhere. A jolly, red-suited man who rides through the sky, squeezes down chimneys, and somehow knows if every child on Earth has been naughty or nice. But behind the modern Santa Claus lies a very real man. A man whose story was far stranger, far darker, and far more miraculous than any children's book ever suggests. A man who lived not at the North Pole, but amid collapsing empires, religious battles, political power struggles, and legends that still ripple across continents today. Tonight, we peel back time, roughly 1,700 years, to uncover the true story of Nicholas of Myra, not the myth, not the cartoon, but the human being. This is the true Saint Nicholas. Nicholas of Myra. The man. Nicholas was born around the year 270 AD, not in the snow-covered forests of the north, but in the Mediterranean heat of Patara, a port city in what is now southwestern Turkey. Imagine it. Bright stone buildings, ships from Egypt and Greece unloading grain and spices, Roman soldiers patrolling streets, merchants shouting prices in Greek, Latin, and Aramaic. This was not a peaceful age. The Roman Empire was fracturing. Famine, violence, and persecution were common. And Christians, a small religious minority at the time, faced the brutal crackdowns of emperors like Diocletian. Nicholas entered this world as the orphaned son of wealthy parents, taken by disease during one of the many plagues sweeping the empire. And what he chose to do with that inheritance is part of why he became legendary. The legend. One of the earliest stories about Nicholas involves 3 poor sisters whose father couldn't afford a dowry. Without a dowry in those days, their future was grim. They could be sold, enslaved, or forced into abusive marriages. But late at night, in secret, Nicholas took bags of gold and tossed them through the family's window, or, in later versions, down their chimney, where the gold landed in stockings drying by the fire. This single act is the seed of several Santa traditions: secret gift-giving, stockings, helping the poor, nighttime visits. Whether the story is literally true or a later elaboration, the fact remains. Nicholas's reputation for anonymous generosity began early, and it spread fast. The lore. These are never in children's books. Over the next decades, Nicholas became known for acts that the people of the region considered miraculous. Some were dramatic. The story of Nicholas calming a violent sea storm to save a ship's crew. The origin of him becoming the patron saint of sailors. Some were political. Nicholas confronting a corrupt Roman governor who had accepted bribes to execute 3 innocent men, an event recorded in early Christian literature. Some were much darker. Stories of Nicholas resurrecting children murdered by an innkeeper or butcher. These tales appear centuries later, but they reflect something important. By the Middle Ages, Nicholas wasn't just a bishop. He had become a symbol of divine justice, terrifying to the wicked, protective of the innocent. If Santa Claus is jolly and warm, Nicholas was fierce, stern, relentless, and uncompromising, and that made him unforgettable. Historians argue about whether Nicholas truly attended the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, the gathering that shaped foundational Christian doctrine. But by the Middle Ages, one story dominated European imagination. Nicholas, enraged by the preaching of a theologian named Arius, walked across the council floor and slapped him across the face. Whether true or myth, the story matters because it shows how Europeans came to imagine Nicholas, a man who would not tolerate injustice or deception. a defender of the vulnerable, a warrior saint. Early Santa was not soft. He was not commercial. He was a protector. Afterlife. Nicholas died around 343 AD, and his tomb in Myra became a pilgrimage site. People claimed miracles occurred there, healings, visions, signs. Centuries later, in the year 1087, sailors from Bari, Italy stole, or rescued, his bones and brought them across the Mediterranean. His relics, believed to exude a miraculous liquid, attracted thousands of pilgrims. From that moment on, Nicholas became one of the most revered saints in Europe. Defenders of children honored him. Sailors prayed to him. Nations adopted him. Gift-giving traditions grew around his feast day, December 6th. By the medieval period, Nicholas's cult, the religious kind, not the modern meaning, stretched from Russia to Spain. He was everywhere. A saint of common people, not kings. A saint whose stories included generosity and supernatural power. A saint whose presence shaped poetry, festivals, artwork, and winter celebrations. But he still wasn't Santa Claus. Not yet. During the Middle Ages, Nicholas's feast day involved giving gifts to children. In Northern Europe, especially the Netherlands, this figure slowly transformed into Santa Claus. A bishop, majestic robes, a white horse, a book that listed children's behavior, a companion figure, later heavily sanitized in folklore. The key here is this. For centuries, this figure still looked nothing like Santa Claus. He wasn't fat. He didn't live at the North Pole. There were no reindeer. There was no red suit. What did exist, however, was the fusion of two concepts: a winter gift giver, a supernatural protector figure. And as Europe evolved, migrated, and collided with new cultures, the legend evolved too. Conclusion. By the time Dutch settlers crossed the Atlantic and arrived in the New World, they carried with them their cherished figure, Sinterklaas. But America was a place where old stories transformed, where folklore collided with capitalism, immigration, and imagination, where writers, illustrators, poets, advertisers, and even political cartoonists reshaped ancient saints into something new, something larger, more whimsical, more marketable. The Nicholas of antiquity was about to undergo a metamorphosis, a transformation so dramatic that it would produce the red suit, the flying reindeer, the North Pole, the elves, and the worldwide icon we recognize today. But the transformation wasn't accidental. It wasn't even organic. It was deliberate. It happened through specific poems, specific illustrations, and one political cartoonist whose drawings would redefine Christmas forever. In our next episode, we uncover the moment St. Nicholas became Santa Claus, and why it happened in 19th century New York, not Europe. Stay tuned. Bravo. Select an option for more.